to put it in my own words, I believe that our purpose is to connect those in the industry, focus on safety, focus on connection, focus on education. And I would add a fourth. I really believe and take responsibility for not only honoring the legacy, but what's our future legacy going to look like? How are we bringing new people into the industry, making sure they're trained, educated, safe for themselves, for their families, and continuing this tradition as we move forward. And that's the bottom line. I mean, NAEC offers a lot of different resources to our members, but I think that's the core of who we are as an organization.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, our guest is Rena Cozart, Executive Director of the National Association of Elevator Contractors. Although Rena was surprised to have been sought out for this opportunity, she was quickly impressed with the honesty and authenticity of those that she would be working with and decided she wanted to learn more. Rena brings to the NAEC vast experience working with high-performing boards of nonprofit organizations. Although Rena claims she will never be an elevator expert, she loves helping the NAEC Board of Directors bring about the vision of its stakeholders. Rena, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt.
Thank you. I'm excited to get to know you better. I know that you don't claim to be an elevator expert, and we can just start right there. But I am interested to just learn about your journey as the executive director of the NAEC, and how did you kind of get started?
Well, it's actually pretty funny. I did nonprofit disease or health industry for years and years, and I had a recruiter call me. And he started talking about NAEC and the vertical transportation industry. And I said, now, have you looked at my LinkedIn? Do you know what my experience is? Because it's not in this field that you're talking about. And he was so funny and so engaging. And he said, just take an interview. And so I get on, at that time it was COVID. So I'm on this Brady Bunch screen, right? With nine individuals on the screen. And, frankly, representing some of the best in the industry, Don Gelastino and Gary Schutte. And I had this great mix of individuals from all over the country that I was fortunate enough to interview with. And I ended up laughing. We ended up laughing throughout the entire interview. It was so fun, and they were so down to earth. And so then all of a sudden I got really interested. I thought, wow, I would love to work with these folks. And so I started doing some homework, and I'm so fortunate that they saw something in me that I could bring and serve the members and serve this industry. So that's how it came about.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's been how long now? 3 years?
It'll be 3 years in November. Yep, 3 yeyears.
That's awesome.
I'm still, I tell people that I'm starting to learn what I don't know.
Well, there you
go. But it's been so much fun and such a journey.
That's awesome. I'm just curious about that first conversation. I mean, sounds like you were pretty apprehensive. I'm like, why should I even talk to these people? They're so far away from what I do, from what I know, from my comfort zone. What was it that clicked for you and them?
I think for me, the first thing that I knew, I've been in a few different industries, and I can recognize someone who's being direct and honest and transparent. And I felt it from every single person on that first interview. There was no pretense. It was it was coming from a place of passion for this industry. And when you are able to interact with people who have this knowledge and this passion, it draws you in, and it makes you want to be closer to it and be part of it. And that's how I felt about it.
That's awesome. So you felt the sincerity, the authenticity that, hey, these people care not just about their own business, but about this organization and the industry overall.
That's right. So that's that's what it was for me. I believe what it was for them is that although the industry has been very different that I've come from, there were some things that I brought to the table that I believe that NAEC wanted and the membership needed. And one of those was I've got a history of working with high caliber, high powered executive boards that have big ideas and want movement and want action. And one of my skill sets that I'm very fortunate to be able to utilize at NAEC is to be able to put those ideas that these activated volunteer members have in place and put measurable action steps behind them. So creating a strategic plan and working with those boards, those were the things that I believe that they saw in me, that they felt like NAEC needed. So
no, that's awesome. And so what I hear you saying is it's not your vision. You're just there to kind of execute on the vision of the board, what they see they need, what they want, and make it happen.
Because when you've got so many excited, passionate people in the room, it sometimes can turn into whack-a-mole. Let's do this, because there's so much energy and so many ideas, and there's so much need in the industry. So I think being able to really kind of focus those visions and put those things into place has been.
So let's talk about that. How do you whittle that down? I mean, I'm just curious,
Well, I spent the first 2 weeks of my position doing nothing but reviewing. There had been a meeting right before they hired me in October. There'd been what's called the Future Directions meeting, and it was intended to hear what the members want. Okay. So they did a survey of the entire membership. Then they pulled together board members, past volunteer leaders, longtime members into a room face to face, and really they worked with a facilitator and pulled together this kind of SWOT analysis of the industry, as it were. And so I had all of this raw data, which was a real gift.
Sure.
Now, certainly a lot of that was around COVID because of the timing, but when you kind of filtered some of that out and looked at the core of what the members were saying, it was pretty easy for me to pull it together into a strategic plan that I presented to the board, and with action steps, with some timelines and some measures, and it just clicked. And so we're actually we'll be doing a new Future Directions meeting in 2024.
Nice.
So we're fulfilling the strategic plan, which is really exciting.
Right. So what has surprised you the most? Obviously you went through the interview process, probably multiple interviews, and met a lot of different people. What's been the biggest surprise of working with you?
I think aside from the passion and the camaraderie, there is these people really care about each other, not only the business, but each other. So, and I think that's probably a common thread. You probably hear that from a lot of the folks you speak with. The other thing that has surprised me the most, not knowing that much about the industry, is these men and women, when they get into the industry, they have to learn and become specialists in a lot of different things. Their knowledge base is extraordinary. Everything from electricians to architectural to OSHA code to, the safety measures alone will and do fill a book. And that has surprised me, how broad the knowledge base is of these professionals in the industry.
Yeah. Well, and then you add to that, how do you run a business? How do you, if you're a business owner, for example, and Don does talk about that,
That's right.
He shared some of that.
That's right. That's right. You really do have to have skills across the board. And that's where that camaraderie pays off, because this crew, they will and do support each other. They have supported me with open arms, unlike anywhere I've ever experienced. And all you have to do is ask.
Yeah.
You just have to ask the questions, and people will come and support you because they want the industry to thrive and they want you to thrive, even if you're a competitor.
Right. Did you fear, being supported? Did you, walking into this?
I thought it was certainly a potential, because, again, not being from the industry and and like likes like, right? I mean, if you're an engineer, you love to be with other engineers. And so I did come into it, basing it on previous industries that I've been in and thinking, well, maybe we'll see. I'm going to dig in, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to try to pull it off. But I will tell you, not only are the volunteer leaders and the board extraordinary and the members and open, but the staff team here, several of whom have been here for 15 plus years, have been incredibly supportive and open to change and new ideas and all of those things. And that absolutely is the reason I believe the organization has had seen quite a bit of growth, even through COVID and moving forward.
That's awesome. What are some differences that you see in the elevator industry versus some of the others you've been in?
Well, some of the things that I've mentioned, if you dig in and if you're passionate about it, people will give you an opportunity. This is an organization, not only our organization, but our industry is one that you can't really fake it. You have to do the work. And if you're willing to do the work, it opens up to unlike anything I've seen. I mean, you mentioned Don Gelostino. There are 20 other stories that I could pull off the top of my head of individuals who started as helpers or mechanics when they were in high school. Generationally, I know you've talked previously about the fact that this is such a generational industry. Over 40% of our members are second or more generation, but that's not given to them. They have to start working in the back, starting when they're in high school or earlier. So it's, that is unique, I think, to this industry, that there's the consistency of this work ethic and this commitment to learning, constant learning. These folks who've been in the industry 40 and 50 years, some of them, it is fascinating to listen to them at some of these events that we have. They're all sitting around after a long day and they've been in these education sessions and they're talking about new safety initiatives and how they need to be implementing them for their guys, their women and their men that work with them. And they are truly learning every day because the industry is changing and innovation is changing the industry.
True. And even those that have been there 50 plus years don't know everything.
That's right.
As things change, you're right. You got to keep learning, keep growing.
That's what's unique is they're willing to say it.
Yeah.
They're willing to say, I don't know everything. Tell me more. That's what's unique.
Well, and I think what you're describing just is humility. It's authenticity. It's just the realness of, hey, this is a real human being. They're not painting a picture. They're not hiding behind some facade. They're not hiding behind, PhD or whatever the acronym happens to be. This is a real human that's still willing to learn and grow. And that's refreshing. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So I'm curious, how have your previous experiences really helped prepare you for this experience and this opportunity?
I think one of the things I knew coming in, don't pretend to know what you don't.
Sure.
Just don't do it. What I needed to do was not try to learn everything about the industry. I'm never going to know anything close to what the folks in the field know. What I need to know is who are my experts that I can call on.
Right.
Who are the people who know? So that when I have a question about hoistway egress, I know exactly who to call about that. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I can get you information and I know who to call. And that has been wonderful. And I think, again, that's one of the things that's unique here is I don't believe I've ever had anyone say no to me when I reached out to them, introduced myself, said, I need help with something. I'm trying to find out about this or that. I've never had anyone not take the time and help me with that information. And so that was something I knew coming in not to pretend to know, but the experience of it here, again, has been refreshing.
That's awesome. Well, it's amazing how much of a connection it creates when you say, hey, can you help me?
That's right.
and they're willing to help. That just the trust is two-way. They trust you for being willing to admit you don't know, and then they feel excited to be able to share that information, and you trust them more because they were there for you. So,
well, and I will say that I think part of the way the members are is completely due to individuals who were here before me.
sure.
I mean, when I had the opportunity and the privilege to inherit this role and get this role, there was a legacy that came with that. And it's a big responsibility to make sure we protect the honor and the legacy of this organization, which is, it's a long heritage.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because if I'm not mistaken, this is the 75th year. Is that correct?
2024 will be our
next year.
75th year, which is really exciting. And it's also one of our United Convention years, where we unite three other organizations along with us.
Oh, wow.
We just host one event. That happens every 4 years.
Okay.
So the 75th combined with United is going to make 2024 a really interesting year for all of us. So.
That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about how you talked about the tradition and the history. How did NAEC start, and what was kind of the impetus as you understand it?
Well, my understanding of the history is that in the 40s, Montgomery Elevator every year had a big fish fry in Illinois, and they'd invite distributors and they'd invite other industry folks just to network, just to connect, just to learn, because there was really nowhere to do that at that time. And so at one of those meetings in 1950, it was proposed officially that they establish the National Association of Elevator Contractors. And then in 1953, they had their first official convention.
Okay.
And at that convention, it was brought forth that they would like to invite supplier members to join the organization.
Okay.
And that was also the year that William C. Sturgeon was brought on as president of the organization.
Okay.
And many people, of course, know him kind of as the father of the industry. He started Elevator World and has been instrumental in so many elements, not only in NAEC, but education, safety, and communication in the industry. So that's my understanding of how NAEC started. That's written in our archives. So
yeah. So it sounds like the kind of the impetus, the drive was, hey, let's communicate, let's share best practices. We're all kind of in our own silos around the country or world, as the case may be, and we just need to be able to talk with each other. And obviously, that was way before cell phones, so
that's right. They wanted to hear what was working, what wasn't, what safety issues they had, what innovation was happening. And, what's so lovely about those first stories of connection is that the things that were valued by those pioneers that started the organization are just as valued today. Sure. That need for networking connection, that need for education, focus on safety. Those things are all as important, if not more important today as they were when the organization started.
Right. Well, and that's, I think that is, just building on that history, that tradition of, hey, we want to communicate, we want to help each other. And you said it a little earlier, that just supporting each other, that it's part of the DNA of the organization and of the industry overall.
That's right.
So what is the mission of the NAEC? I'm sure I could pull it up on your website, but
there is a mission statement on the site that you guys can read. But to put it in my own words, I believe that our purpose is to connect those in the industry, focus on safety, focus on connection, focus on education. And I would add a fourth. I really believe and take responsibility for not only honoring the legacy, but what's our future legacy going to look like? How are we bringing new people into the industry, making sure they're trained, educated, safe for themselves, for their families, and continuing this tradition as we move forward. And That's the bottom line. I mean, NAEC offers a lot of different resources to our members, but I think that's the core of who we are as an organization.
Sure. You've got a solid foundation, and then the question of how do we build on that in a way that continues to perpetuate the values and the tradition and everything that we've built. So what do you see as some of the main things that the NAEC provides? And we've talked a little bit about those things, but what are the biggest?
I think we have lots of volunteer involvement, which deepens some of those connections. You know, we have our Women in Motion committee, which is women in the industry who are able to connect and talk about things like PPE for women and how to make sure our female mechanics and operators are safe in the field. We have our Next Gen group for our under 40, which again is literally our next generation of leaders, operators, and owners in the industry. This is a very large group and very committed and very active. We have about 148 members of the Next Gen group, and getting in those rooms and finding out how many of them are fourth and fifth generation is a lot of fun, and those stories are a lot of fun. Most people are aware that education and certification is really important to NAEC.
Right.
It's definitely one of our pillars because our members need and want those programs to be stable and to expand.
Sure.
And so we provide a variety of different education and certification. And then we have our events that, again, provide for networking. Our convention and expo is the largest in North America, the only one of its kind, actually, in North America, unique to our industry. And so I think that one of the things we're striving for as we move forward is to make sure that our members, no matter who they are in the industry, if they're the small guy with 3 guys in a truck to the large big boys like
Sure.
Koenig, whether they're merit shop or union, that NAEC has information, safety, education, resources that we can provide to anyone within the industry.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think especially, I'm just thinking of the smaller players. Sometimes they may not have the resources or the team of attorneys or the teams, that can provide everything they need. And so that's huge, especially when you're talking about family businesses and grandpa started it and then dad ran it. And now it's Junior's turn and, they need the, right. Exactly. Because there is so much of that. So I'm curious, talk to me a little bit more about the future. You talked about kind of that fourth pillar. What are some of the things you're actively looking to create or, kind of looking at and saying, hey, that's something that really needs to be here?
Well, I have my own ideas about what that looks like, but I'm going to withhold a lot of comment on this because it was going to depend on what our strategic planning session looks like that's happening in April. But I will tell you that we're going to be expanding more and more education. That's going to be something we will continue to expand. We are going to continue to look at affinity groups within the organization and within our industry to make sure that they have a lifeline if they need it, no matter who they are, that they can find others in their place to get the advice and the mentorship that they need. So I do believe mentorship will be an element that's probably more formally going to be activated. Again, these are just things some of our board members and some of our volunteer leaders have talked about. I do believe we will probably be instituting some more education options and opportunities. One of the big things that we're doing right now in preparation for all of this is we are automating. Wow. The organization has not done a lot of automation. We've been busy growing our CET program and rolling out our QEI program. Now we're looking to make it easier and more accessible for our members so that they can go online, they can pull up whatever classes they've taken, what their deadlines are. It's not going to have to be quite so labor intensive, which is going to be, we're in the middle of that as a staff. So our staff has just been wonderful and patient. We're working with an expert in the industry, a consultant who is helping us to get there. But I would say by mid to late next year, it will be fully rolled out, which is
Wow.
very exciting. So our learning management system, we're completely bringing in a brand new learning management system. And I think our members are going to see the difference right away.
Yeah, no, it sounds like I'm envisioning, and maybe I'm just making stuff up, but are you saying there'll be an NAEC app and you can pull it up on your phone and participate that way?
To come, we are working towards that at this point. Yes, there will be digital and virtual ways to access. What that's going to look like exactly, I don't want to define it too tightly right now. We're
Okay.
still working with our committee and working with our consultants to get the final tweaks on that.
Right. So no, and thank you for just talking about that a little bit. I am curious, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned in the last 3 years?
This may sound silly. Believe the hype. Believe what you've heard about this industry, because everyone in those interviews, I knew they were highly motivated. They
Sure.
were board members, past board members, longtime members. So they are in it. They were committed. And, you're just call on anybody. They're going to help you. And it's easy to say that, but literally believe the hype, because all you have to do is whatever question you have, reach out and someone will be there to answer your
Sure.
call. And I believe it's quite unique to the industry. And I feel so incredibly fortunate to be able to learn from and work with these people to make these things happen, because this is people's livelihoods, not only their families, but the writing public and safety of the writing public and the building community. And it's going to continue to grow.
Sure.
And I'm excited that I'm going to hopefully be able to be on the ride for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love the way you said, believe the hype, and that people do answer your questions. And I've even found that when I ask a question, sometimes if somebody doesn't know, they'll say, "Hey, you need to call so-and-so." That's
right.
Where you're going to
Here's our person to call. That's right. And it is a gift. And again, it is unique. I mean, I've been around the block a few times in a
Sure.
few different industries, and I've never experienced anything like this. And,
Yeah.
and that's saying something. So I feel honored to do this work.
Yeah, likewise. And that's honestly, that's part of the reason I like to do these interviews is there is something special about the industry. And I've been surprised at how well I've been welcomed. Even going to NAEC conference, the first time I went, one of my, clients was saying, "Hey, you need to come." And I felt like an outsider. I was like, I don't think I belong. He said, "Shut up, just come." And so I came and was really surprised, pleasantly surprised. It was amazing to me just how welcome I was, and like, "Hey, you're one of us. Come join." And it was, I've loved everyone I've been to.
That's
a lot
wonderful.
of fun. Yeah.
And I love that. And I hope that, it's one of the things our membership development committee and our membership services committee are working on, making sure first timers and non-members who visit have got somebody to walk them around the show floor, have got someone that they've got, "Here's my cell phone. If you need help while you're here, give me a call." We have a reception that's kicked off. That was one of the new initiatives last year. So there's just a lot of that type of focus. And we're just trying to kind of look at the great stuff and build on it.
I love that. Yeah. What's beautiful to me about that is again, just building on this tradition, because to me, it is more of a community than an industry. It's more of, like a big family reunion, and get second cousins and third cousins or whatever. Right. But
I was going to say, when they say it's like family, it literally is like family. And, but unlike family, sometimes they will let all outsiders in.
Yeah.
If you want to know and you want to hear and you want to learn, they will absolutely help you do it.
Yeah. It's so you're right. In that way, it's not as exclusive as family.
That's right.
Come on in. You can join our family.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful. So as we wrap up or get close to our time, what's, I guess, some advice or encouragement or something you would share with our listeners, or whoever's listening, I guess?
Well, I've probably hit on it and I've probably repeated it a couple of times, but again, just reach out. Even if you're not from the industry, reach out to somebody and ask about the industry, ask about, getting involved in this industry. Because again, you really have to believe the hype. And until you've experienced it, you might not believe it. But I literally have not had a phone call that wasn't repeated back to me and given back to me with such generosity. And it's an amazing industry. I'm so excited and feel so passionate about it. And sometimes I look back on that recruiter calling me and laughing in his ear and saying, "You have the right person. I don't know what you're talking about." And I feel so silly now because I could have accidentally pushed away this amazing opportunity that I'm living now. And I'm so fortunate that didn't happen. So
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Renee, thank you for just being with me to talk about all this today. I appreciate
thank you so much. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your time and thanks for what you're doing for the industry and NAEC.
Well, we appreciate it. Anybody out there who wants to learn more about NAEC can go to our website, naec.org, or certainly call me. I'll take a phone call anytime.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.